see my screen?
No, sir, not it.
Not possible. Okay, just one. Yes, can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Well, friends, so let me very heartfully congratulate you for having chosen this particular session today. And we're going to have, in fact, I'm not going to present much of ideas. I'm just going to talk to you about some of the best ways we're all going to discover, some of the best ways through which we can make our teaching more effective, how effectively by using some of those techniques that we're going to discuss today can we in our classroom management can be much better. Okay, so let's try to take a look at just I want you all to take a look at this particular slide over here. You see a small picture where you find four different people, like it's the same person, different, it's standing at different angles of the screen. So can someone tell me or give me a brief description of what you understand by looking at this picture? Anyone? You may either unmute yourself and speak, or probably you can even type your answers on the chat box. What do you understand by this picture? Remember, this picture clearly talks about a person at the different levels of his life. A person with having absolutely no positive opinion or view of life, without money and education. When there is no money and education, a person is absolutely missing a complete view of life. When he has given a complete, what you call a balanced approach to making money as well as education, acquiring knowledge, he has got a clear, complete, satisfactory picture of his life. And when it comes to a person, the same person giving just exclusive or what you call giving only importance for acquiring knowledge, like standing on the books, only trying to acquire knowledge from books or only education, and again yet he misses some kind of happiness from his life. Or if a person gives complete importance only for earning money, exclusively money, no knowledge, no wisdom, no social behaviors, nothing he earns, and even then he begins to miss a lot of the beauties of life. So this picture I have just come across a couple of days in the social media, which I found is quite relevant. The teacher's role is where it takes in the second picture, in the second position where a person is standing. So look at this person. This is where a teacher's role comes in. It's not simply concentrating on education or teaching him only to learn and learn and learn and get scores and start earning start getting good scores and getting good name. That's not what. Or not just teaching the techniques of how to earn money in life and become successful. That's not what a teacher is supposed to do. A teacher's role is very significant when he comes to teach his students the importance of both the knowledge as well as earning money, and balance it, and then begin to see the complete satisfactory oriented life. And that's the kind of person that we require today. And that is where the role of a teacher comes, because a teacher is second none to none except to his parents. So a student's concentration, or rather a student begins to look forward for a lot of what you call role models from his teachers after his parents. So moving on to the next, let me tell you, here's a beautiful quote by Mr. Dr. Abdul Kalam ji. Teacher is a very noble profession that shapes the character, caliber, and future of an individual. If the people remember me as a good teacher, that will be the biggest honor for me. So my dear friends, I think at least the modern world, the present generation, the modern generation can easily understand the lifestyle of our teacher Abdul Kalam, our ex President of India, as well as who is a great genius in terms of being a person who came from what you call, I could call Abdul Kalam's life as a rags to riches, okay, who came from a very humble beginnings and then became the missile man of India by leading the Shah and then becoming the President of India. So it's such a man himself, a man of his stature himself, was able to completely give a picture to us that how noble a teacher's profession has to be. And probably he himself, in fact, he said after retiring or after coming out of his period as his tenure as the President of India, what would you do? He said, I would become a teacher and I will start sharing my expertise and knowledge with my students, and he started delivering lectures at IIT Chennai. So I'm talking about great teachers like him, not just great people, great teachers like him would have a lot of impact on us, on every student. Let's begin to take a look at the definition of classroom management, today's major topic. So what is classroom management? Why do we talk about this topic? And how positively should we manage a classroom? I'm sure all those who are present in today's sessions are experts. You have been into this field quite, I'm sure, for at least a few years, not less than 5 to 10 years. And some of you might have even got a bigger experience or expertise of being into this field for the last 15 or 20 years too. But what I want to tell you is, you might have come across a lot of problems, a lot of issues while managing your classroom. Let me tell you, keeping that aside, how to manage my classroom, and if you keep that particular point aside, try to concentrate how effective a teacher I could be. Because looking at the simple definition of classroom management refers to the wide variety of skills and techniques that teachers use to keep students organized, orderly, focused, attentive, on task, and academically productive during a class. So a classroom management traditionally has been a place, or has been what you call an atmosphere where we have to concentrate on the holistic development of the learner. It's not that a student begins to learn whatever you teach, but it's about how much he begins to receive it, how much he acquires the capacity to apply in his real world time whatever he learns in a classroom setup. So that is where the role of a teacher comes in. Remember, a classroom management typically includes 4 major what I call people here, or rather 4 major components. One is the teacher effectiveness, student behavior, pedagogical methods you adopt, and the classroom infrastructure. So when it comes to teachers' effectiveness, how do we call, when can a teacher become more effective? What are the characteristics that can make a teacher more effective? We are going to talk about a few things that will help us to understand in the coming slides. I'm going to explain to you, in the coming presentations, I'm going to explain to you about some of the most beautiful characteristics that can make a teacher more effective. Not just a presenter, not just a lecturer, not someone who teaches whatever is there in a book, but someone who can exchange the knowledge he possesses with his students. And in fact, I would here like to beautifully quote the wonderful words of our national, the father of the nation, Sri Mahatma Gandhi ji, who said, if you stop learning, you start dying. I repeat this particular beautiful quote by Mahatma Gandhi. He says, one stops living if one stops learning. So remember, to continue to live more happily, more effectively is to learn. So continuously being a learner. The moment a teacher becomes, or rather a teacher attains the level or gets that arrogance that I am a teacher, I know everything and I don't need to learn anything from my children or from my colleagues, and that rigidity is what makes him a failure. Remember, a teacher must be a continuous learner. That's the reason I would like to tell you at the very outset of this training program itself, at this session, I want all of you to attend this session with a mind, a childlike mind. A childlike mind, a mind which is going to literally tell you, which is going to open up your mind to effectively learn whatever the few things that we're going to discuss in this class. So I would say if a teacher cannot be a good learner, he cannot be an effective teacher. The first quality of an effective teacher is to be an effective learner. Second, student behavior. When it comes to student behavior, we are talking about, we find varieties of students, especially in the higher educational institutions. We find students with different what you call psychological issues. We find people with different behaviors, emotions. We also find people, students, learners with different defects, social impacts that they have, and a lot of peer influence, a lot of influence of their of their friends. Okay, and above all, it is the physical problem, the age problem, that also has an effect when it comes to behaving, a student's behavior in the classroom. So now you are going to address a student from all these angles. How effectively can I make, or can I deliver my session to the students, and how effectively can I attract my students, or how effectively can I make sure that my student has learned whatever I teach in the class. So this is where you're going to address the student when it comes to classroom management. And the third most important point that we need to understand in the effective classroom management is pedagogical methods. Remember, gone are the days when companies, or rather when teaching styles were more in the traditional styles. Today's teaching methods have to be what you call, I would say, more modernized. They require to be more customized in order to address the ultra modern students, the ultra modern generation of today. So the pedagogical methods, if you follow in the most traditional that you have been following over the years, I'm sure you are in no way going to impress your students. So the best way to impress your students is to use, to make, or rather to utilize the latest methods of teaching, like using audio visuals or interactive methods. There are so many other methods. In the upcoming slides, we are going to discuss a few of them. And the classroom infrastructure. Remember, classroom infrastructure has a lot of impact on the way a student learns. A learner's brain or learner's mindset gets impacted by the kind of infrastructure you have in a classroom setup. So I would make you, or rather I would call upon all of you, my dear friends, to make sure that you try to redesign in infrastructure. I don't mean to say that you are going to change the entire infrastructure of your class, but what I mean to say is try to uh, make students to look at the classroom in a different angle. I mean to say probably rearranging the benches in the classroom, or probably using different, or probably putting the students in a jumbled manner, or making them to sit in a different structure. It's not in the regular kind of place. Or sometimes engaging the students in different modes of sitting. Probably sometimes you can ask them to stand, sometimes you can ask them to sit, sometimes you can even ask them to do a few initial exercises like breathing exercises to begin with. So these are a few things, because when it comes to effective classroom management, a teacher's effectiveness, student behavior, different methods of teaching, and classroom infrastructure, all of them play a role. And now coming on to what are the characteristics of great teachers. I was just talking to you about previously. The great teachers always have some of the following characteristics, because remember, we are not going to, probably in this ultra modern world where we are driven by technological advancements, I would say it's not the kind of teaching methods that we were using 10 years back that we need to use now. We need to have what you call, we need to upgrade ourselves. Okay, because at this age of around, let's say around 16 to 20, 25, that is the prime of their youth. So that is where they look for a lot of role models, inspiring characteristics to influence their personality. And based on our personalities, based on their favorite teachers' personalities, they develop their personalities, they build their characters, they build their personalities. Therefore, a teacher should not merely be a person who delivers whatever is given in a textbook or in a syllabus. That's not what we are talking about. So today's teachers are supposed to be more inspiring, more motivating, and simplifying. In fact, I would say today's education is all about simplifying complex concepts, making it easy to present it in a more affable, more friendly, and more easy to understand kind of a package. That's what a teacher's greatness lies in. Okay, training, you're not just a teacher, you're a trainer too. You need to have established a lot of rapport with your students by being an excellent interacting person. Okay, you should be able to interact with your students constantly by keeping them engaged, by asking them a few questions, like what are the kind of thing, because the best way to engage your students is to use a lot of questioning techniques. At every 5 minutes of explanation, stop and ask them a few questions. Engage them by asking questions. Am I clear? Tell them what it means, or just try to ask them a few questions that tickle their brains, that tickle their what you call their excitement. That's what I want. We need to address the modern students. So interact with them, question them. Let our class be a lively one. It's not simply delivering whatever that is available in a textbook or whatever that's been assigned to you. It's not about just delivery of the product, but it's going to be more of engagement of your students, more interacting them by probably sometimes you need to add a bit of humor also to your class. Okay, you need to add a bit of humor, need to add a few cracky jokes, and probably, as I said again, the first point that we see, inspiring teachers, inspire them with a couple of interesting characters, maybe a few incidents from scientists' life, from great scientists' life that can really influence them, or from some great people's lives. So remember, imagine if you have around 50 minutes of time, make sure around at least first 5 minutes is exclusively used to inspire them by, probably you can begin your session with a quotation, with a motivational quotation. You can even probably share with them an inspiring incident that you have observed, or probably you can even talk about a small incident from some great lives like Abdul Kalam or some great people like that who can become a great role models for them. So bring in a lot of inspiration, motivate, and begin to simplify. You just tell them it's okay. Don't get. Remember, the students in our classroom are not all of them are of equal IQ levels. Each one has his uniqueness in terms of understanding the concepts. Each one has his own physical design in terms of the right brain quality and the left brain quality, as we speak about in psychology. So you need to understand each student's capacity and then address them from that angle. Okay, so apply what are the kind of things that you teach them. Make sure that they would apply in their real lives by asking them questions or quizzes. Exhibit, show them. Probably I would say a teacher is sometimes need to be, not sometimes, in fact almost 80% of the times a teacher should be more an actor. You should be able to act out and show them what it means to learn a particular concept. When you're teaching a concept, make sure you try to act it out. So you should not just simply be a person who displays some kind of slides on the screen, or probably you just write something on a blackboard and begin to explain that. No. That's all pretty outdated styles of teaching. And moving on, I would like to I've just come across a small story from the life of Mr. Bill Gates. Okay, so a teacher who inspired him the most is Mrs. Cafier. So Mrs. Cafier was the librarian in the school where he studied. Okay, so just take a look at. I'll just read this for you. When I first met Mrs. Cafier, she was the elegant and engaging school librarian at Seatlesview Ridge Elementary School, and I was a timid fourth grader. I was desperately trying to go unnoticed because I had some big deficits, like atrocious handwriting. So his handwriting was very bad. Mr. Gates' handwriting as a kid was very bad, and I was trying to hide the fact that I liked to read something that was cool only for girls but not for boys. Mrs. Cafier took me under her wing and helped him make it okay for me to be a messy, nerdy boy who was reading lots of books. He credits Mrs. Caffeo for helping him escape his shell in the true spirit of exceptional teaching. First, she encouraged Gates' passion for reading by helping him explore it through the use of introspective questions, such as what he liked to read and why. Next, she would go out of her way to source books that were progressively more interesting and challenging for him. Finally, once he had read them, she would sit down with him and ask him if he liked what he had read and, more importantly, what he had learned and why. She genuinely listened to what I had to say, Mr. Gates recalled. My dear friends, this is the kind of teachers that really come across, that really inspire students. Imagine, just close your eyes for a while and just imagine, count all those teachers that have left an impact on your life. I'm sure if you close your eyes and think for a while, all those beautiful teachers that have cast a lot of impact on your life, a lot of what we could I would say that made you spellbound with their teaching, with their personality, with their expressions, with their character, with their behaviors, with their smile sometimes, with their cool attitude. There are so many. I'm sure if you just shut down your eyes and just wait for a minute and probably think about all those good old days, you would get certainly all those noble teachers who had left, who has made you what you are today. Certainly, that's what, in the words of Dr. Abdul Kalam, teaching is a noble profession. So in 2006, shortly after reaching her 100th birthday, Blanche Caffeya, the teacher of Mr. Bill Gates, sadly passed away, but not before Gates was able to thank her personally for the lasting impact her love and curiosity had on his life. So this is just a small story from one of the greatest and probably most impactful personalities of our times today. So Bill Gates, what kind of a love he has attained from his library teacher, Mrs. Caffeya, who literally transformed his life. Probably, I'm sure, throughout his entire life, he might have come across, if not in hundreds, at least in, if not in thousands, at least hundreds of teachers he might have interacted with. But why only he mentions Mrs. Caffeyer as his favorite teacher, who has made him what he is today, who has helped him to drive away all the fear, all the tension, all the nervousness, all those shy attitude from him. Excuse me. That's precisely because she had such a wonderful approach to understanding the students. Moving on. So today, in the words of Carl Menninger, what a teacher is more important than what he teaches. Today, you need not be a person who simply delivers whatever is in the textbook. For that matter, I think today's young people have so much of material available on the internet today. So much of stuff, so much of latest material with animations is available online. But why do the teachers require, why do the students really require teachers like us? That's precisely because they want inspiration from us. So today, it's not about what a teacher teaches, it's all about what a teacher is. A teacher, with all his personality, with all his character, with all his caliber, with all his behavior, is going to cast a lot of impact on the learners. Because once a student comes out of his house and comes to the school or college, he is going to spend around 8 to 9 hours a day, and he is going to stay in the college. And he keeps looking for a lot of role model, a lot of inspiration from his teachers. Let's now take a look at some of the most competent theories that have sorry, excuse me, I'll just have a sip of water and come back. now we're going to talk about one of the most influential theories when it comes to classroom management. I would say most of these theories are developed and are promoted by some of the most famous psychologists of the contemporary world. Okay, so according to some of the most influential psychologists, I have listed their names over here. You can take a look at their names here. William Glasser, the choice theory, Kant's student-directed learning, or Cantor's assertive discipline, and Skinner's behavior management theory. All of them, okay, whatever it is, okay, Glasser's or Kant's or Cantor's or Skinner's, all of them are psychologists. Psychologists that have made a lot of study and research into student behavior, classroom management, and the pedagogical styles of educational arena. So these are some of the 5 most important theories that are popularly that are popularly known across the globe in terms of classroom management. There are so many theories, but I would put most of these theories into these 5 categories. So one is the behaviorist theory, where this particular theory is going to most chiefly talk about the fixing of the different behavioral patterns of students, different behavioral issues of students. So this particular psychology or this classroom management theory talks about more about the student behaviors in a classroom rather than what one can actually impact, what a teacher can deliver in the classroom. So behaviorist theory says a student's behavior in a classroom is more important than anything else. When it comes to the second theory, humanist theory, which focuses on removing negative influences. So it's more about making your students more human or more empathetic in their behaviors, okay, by removing negative influences. Okay, so creating a bit of a positive attitude among students, telling them about the beauty of life, or inspiring students about what you call different levels of human life and how you need to what you call raise your personality. So it's more about teaching how probably some people, some what you call some of the researchers would call this behavior, or rather this humanist theory, as a weak theory, because it does not make a student, or rather it does not make a student acquire different strategies of becoming successful. It only teaches a student as to how he needs to be humble, humanistic, very cool, very positive, but it doesn't teach him how to be successful. So there is a bit of criticism against that. And the third theory of classroom is democratic theory, where this kind of theories often focus on empowering students, making them become powerful, making them become what you call free-natured, more into liberal way of thinking, not very strict on things. Again, a lot of freedom is available in this particular theory. And we have the most famous psychoanalytic theory, which is in fact a brain trail, or rather which is promoted by the famous psychoanalysis by, yes, Sigmund Freud. Focus on unconscious thoughts of learners. Okay, Sigmund Freud's psychology, which talks about the learning different theories, learning classroom theory, psychological analysis. He says a student's psychology should be understood first of all by the teacher. Only then he can address the student while he's learning or becoming a better candidate in his life. And the last one and the most important thing is cognitive theory, classroom management theory, which focuses exclusively on thoughts and not behaviors, which gives more importance on marks, scoring marks, understanding concepts, or probably delivering it on the stage, or probably acquiring lot of concept knowledge, but it doesn't care much for the behaviors. So these are the 5 broad categories of classroom management theories. Okay, behaviorist, humanist, democratic, psychoanalytic, and cognitive. Let's now take a look at some of the strategies that we can probably use in order to make our classroom management much more effective. But before that, let me tell you a few things like let's understand some of the mistakes that we commit while handling a class. Okay, what are some of the mistakes that every teacher commits while taking a session, while delivering a lecture? Okay, so like these are some of the most common. Again, there are a lot we can add. The list goes unending. We can add a lot of mistakes that we come across. But broadly, I'm talking about 5 key mistakes that we often come across while teaching from a teacher's point of view. So a teacher often does not communicate what a student is expecting. So you should be able to communicate in order to match, or you should be able to teach to the expectations of the student. The student is expecting different. See, for example, you might say the student wants a dance program, sir, should I do a dance? Or a student wants some fun in the class, should I make that fun? No, I don't mean that. I only mean to say, when you are teaching a concept, make sure you add a bit of flavor to it, not just simply teaching a concept tastelessly as it is in a book. Do not do that. Try to add a bit of what you call taste, glitter, color, and a bit of what you call sugar coatedness, because that's what a student requires today. He wants it more what you call engaging, more entertaining, more effective. Because again, I'm warning you, my dear friends, remember, you are no more addressing the teachers or the students of the past. You are addressing the ultra modern students. Probably a student might have a better knowledge on the concept you're teaching today in the classroom than a teacher himself. So that's advanced knowledge, that's advanced technology today we have to encourage the student. So what a student requires is, try to raise your expectations. Try to match up to the expectations of the students. So whatever concept you teach, make sure you add a bit of color, add a bit of glitter, add a bit of story, add a bit of inspiration, add a bit of more questioning attitude. Question students, engage the students. That's what a student wants. Being inconsistent. So most of the times the teachers are themselves not consistent. Probably today a teacher comes well prepared, the next day morning he doesn't come, he comes a little bored, or he doesn't deliver well. So probably sometimes you might say, some students might have told you, one day a teacher's class, your class is excellent, sir, today. And normally the same teacher teaches the same concept to another class, and they wouldn't appreciate it because your delivery is not very consistent. So the consistency of a teacher in terms of delivering a lecture, in terms of presenting a thought, or in terms of engaging a class should be consistent. It's not just lowering your performance. That's what the students require today. And third most common mistake teachers often commit in the classroom management is not creating an action plan. I would say a teacher's success, a teacher's effectiveness and a teacher's success depends 90% upon his preparation for the class and 10% on his delivery, I would say. See, for example, I think you might have read a beautiful book by Stephen R. Covey. That beautiful book. The book name is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm sure all of you might have read this book. Wonderful book. If you have not read it, kindly buy one copy and do read it. It's available on, I think, Amazon also. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Okay, remember where he says, if I am given a chance to cut a tree, if I am given 1 hour of time to cut a tree, I would spend first 40 to 50 minutes exclusively on sharpening my sword. To sharpen my axe, I would spend around 40 or 50 minutes of time I spend exclusively on sharpening my axe. Last 10 minutes I use for cutting the tree. So which means the preparation to cut a tree is more important than cutting the tree itself. Similarly, the preparation to make your teaching more effective is more important than just coming up with a kind of bookish knowledge or kind of a PPT or a kind of book to deliver. So that's not what today they require. So remember, an action plan and preparation is very, very important. So going too big too quickly. So it's one quick problem here with the staff, with the teachers today is, the biggest mistake that we commit is we begin to become too big. Too big, I mean to say, sometimes we quickly judge our students. We come to a negative conclusion Okay, we sometimes shout at them. We probably do not understand them properly. We do not even immediately we come to the conclusion about a student's behavior, or probably we do not really deliver our session more effectively. So going big too quickly. So just take your own time, understand their effectiveness, understand what they really require, and begin to deliver. And the last, most important mistake that we often commit is not establishing proper relationships. I mean to say, draw a line here. Draw a line. That positive, engaging relationship between a teacher and student should never neglect that the thick line between you and the student. So that's what I say. Engaging the students more positively. Develop a wonderful relationship. A relationship that literally makes the student remember you for the rest of his life as one of the most influencing teachers. Okay? And when it comes to some of the strategies, probably because these are the mistakes, and to outdo these mistakes, or rather, as remedies to these mistakes, probably we can use this. We must understand learners, accept differences among students and between students and faculty, engage students in setting goals and expectations, be flexible, creative, try not to be surprised by anything that happens in the classroom. So that's what you should be. You should be a flexible teacher. A teacher very flexible to understand, very flexible to encourage, very flexible to approach each student from his shoes. I would say you get into the shoes of every student to understand him more effectively. But unfortunately, I would say, because I've been in this field for the last 20 years as a teacher, as a trainer, most of the times I found the teachers limiting themselves only to the expectation, only to the point of delivering the lecture, and the rest they don't even care about a student. Come on, remember, a student really wants to establish a very positive and proactive relationship with a teacher. Make sure that you try to wish him, probably teach him how to wish a teacher, teach your students, engage them. Even if some students feel depressed or probably have some psychological issues, calm them down first. Tell them it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. There is a better future, there is a better tomorrow, there is a better days awaiting for you. Cool them down. Probably due to time constraints, I'm not able to share much of my experience. In fact, I would, if the time goes on, we could even engage a lot of things that I could share with you. It's okay. Moving on to this. So a lot of expectations from students. They want solid knowledge base on real world applications. They want clear and organized presentations of material. They want to be stimulated, active, and participatory style of teaching. They want to know why he does this activity, reading connectivity to my future career. Okay, how a particular, say for example, you are engaging students into an activity. Let that activity have a bit of influence on his future too. So how this activity is going to help me improve my personality, help me improve my career, help me set a base for my future. Okay, so let that be a clear and conscious communication between the student and the teacher. Just remember one thing: begin your class with a smile, wish them all positively, engage them actively. Remember, it's all about teachers' enthusiasm that makes the students being enthusiastic. So they want their faculty to be enthusiastic, helpful, and engaging. And of course, customer service, I mean to say here, how you begin to deliver, or probably how you receive the people in the campus, maybe other teachers, maybe the parents of the students. How do you engage with them? Face-to-face contact, and be going beyond boundaries. Some of the 5 most common teaching styles we often address or we often adapt in the classroom setup is: we are sometimes authoritative, we are demonstrators sometimes, we are facilitators, we are delegators, and we are hybrid. Hybrid, I mean to say, a style which blends the teacher's personality and the interest with the students. Okay, you try to blend your interest with the interest of the students to create more an engaging atmosphere in the classroom. Okay, so these are 5 teaching styles we often, there's nothing new, we know that. Sometimes you are authoritative. Authoritative means it is a one-side kind of an accuracy. I'll try to speak, you guys, the students, shut up your mouths and listen. Which means I'm becoming more authoritative, which is a little outdated, I would say, today. Today's students are not interested in such kind of authoritative lectures. Demonstrator probably would engage you and make you much more an effective teacher. Okay, demonstrate whatever you do. It's more a coaching style. That's what they would say. Try to demonstrate with by using audio visuals like PowerPoint presentation or displaying a few videos, YouTube videos, anything of that sort. Try to do. Facilitator, let your students present the thoughts. Say for example, if you're going to come, I'll tell you, I'm coming to the next level actually. See, IIT model, I will say here, I've put you here, the IIT model. Put yourself into student shoes. I had an opportunity to attend a couple of days of session at IIT Bangalore. So that's where I was there. And when I was there, I was trying to see why are these premier institutions like IITs are so different from the regular academic institutions. I found they are literally amazing. The reason is an IIT professor, frankly speaking, an IIT professor is not dropped from heavens. Are they? Or are they from other planets? They are absolutely not. They are common teachers like you and me who have been educated, who have raised their intellectual capacities to the level of becoming professors in IITs. So IIT teachers are not from the heavens, are not from other planets. They are also simple teachers like us. But their pattern, their pedagogy styles, their teaching styles differ a lot. The reason is, if let's say for example, if an IIT professor is teaching a concept, let's say for example, the concept of artificial intelligence. So he doesn't simply go with a PPT, or he doesn't simply take a textbook and say this is what artificial intelligence is all about. No, he says even before he begins the concepts, he gives a couple of days of time for his students. My dear students, we are going to have a lecture, or we are going to begin the session on let's say artificial intelligence, on the concept of artificial intelligence next week. So come prepared. So the student does a lot of work and he comes prepared, and the teacher's way of engaging the students is more through participatory, more what you call question style. The teachers in IITs ask a lot of questions to students that undoubtedly the student begins to discover a lot more on the subject themselves. So I would highly encourage all my teaching fraternity, or rather I would invite all my teaching fraternity attending this session to make sure that you ask a lot of questions. Let a student discover the topic rather than simply understanding from whatever you write on a blackboard. Let that not be the style. Put yourself in the student's shoes. Try to make him discover the topic for himself. That will remain much better, because here's a beautiful quote from Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So involving the student is what makes him a better learner. Here is a scientific, in fact a psychological proof to show. So people remember, how people generally remember, how people are able to, the learning outcomes and the learning activities. See for example, 10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear. Okay, so these are the two areas where we define only they are able to describe and explain, nothing more. Okay, but whereas when you are able to 30% of what they see and 50% of what they see and hear, they are able to demonstrate and apply. Okay, this is area where we say how do they see and how do they hear. It's all about demonstrating and applying and practicing. And the most important and the most active learning takes place only 70% of what they say and write, 90% of what they do. So 90% of the learning, or rather active learning, is happening only at this stage, where a student is able to do whatever they learn. So this is the level where we call analyze, define, create, evaluate. So this is the level where we need to bring our students, or rather raise our students' capacities up to this. We should make our students be able to apply whatever they learn. They should be able to say. Say means whatever they have learned in the classroom, they should be able to say it. They should be able to teach it. They should be able to share that concept with others. They should be able to write on a paper. They should be able to present it. So that's what makes them active learners. Similarly, we talk about the cone of learning. I have put it into a different mode here. So lecturing, it's 5%, reading 10%, audio visual 20%, demonstration 30%, discussion, okay, group discussions might have around 50%, and practice by doing 70%, teaching to others. So remember, if you teach a student, engage him into these two areas, last two areas. After teaching a concept, make sure a student practices it. Provide him activities that will make him practice whatever he has learned, by quiz activities, by giving them a chance to make presentations like jams, or inviting them to take brief sessions on what you call on whatever they have learned. That would make them much better. Remember attention curve too. Remember first, let's say for example 50 minutes of session, first 15-20 minutes students attention is very high, okay, and then again last again 10 minutes his attention slowly increases. The attention curve is very high to begin with, and again it drops down, and again the curve goes up. Okay, in the last 10 minutes of the session, okay, the teacher is going to conclude the session, the time is going up, then again the student comes back, the mind comes back, and he begins to actively learn. So remember, keeping this learning patterns or psychologically active patterns of students, we should be able to engage. So modern day teacher should be a person with a positive self-image, self-discipline, sense of humor, impressive personality from within, self-convincing, constant learner, ability to handle complex situations, storytelling, highly responsible, and should help students discover their potentials. Remember, this is what a modern teacher is supposed to be. A person himself, the teacher himself should have a positive self-image. If you are a negative person, how are you going to create a positive influence on your student? Absolutely not possible. Remember, to create a positive personality in your learners, you should be a person with positive self-image, a positive character, a positive attitude, a constant learner. As I said again, a teacher should be a great learner. And you should also have a bit of entertaining skills, like you should add a bit of humor to whatever you teach. Okay, you should be a great storyteller too, because even at this age we are in fact very keenly attracted by the petty stories that we hear from different people. So another great quality that a teacher requires to have is spontaneity. Okay, spontaneity counts a lot. Without spontaneity, I'm sure we will not be able to deliver much. So this is how a teacher should prepare. A teacher should plan, prepare, practice, and present. These are the 4 P's that every teacher must learn before he goes for delivering his lecture, or before he goes for training his students. Rather than teaching, you are going to train your students, and the 4 P's you need to have is: you must plan well, you must plan your lecture, you must plan your concept well. Browse, be a learner, try to prepare your lesson notes properly, try to create your slides properly. Okay, prepare well, practice them before you deliver in the class. Make sure you practice yourself, and then go for an effective presentation. Plan, prepare, practice, and present. 4 P's which will make you an effective teacher. So sharpen the sword. I think I did talk to you about in the beginning itself. I have covered this one. Remember, if 1 hour time is given for you, I would spend around first 50 minutes of time to sharpen my sword, and the last 10 minutes to cut the board, or to cut the tree. That's what if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of their tomorrow. Beautiful quote. Please do take a look at this. We are not supposed to teach our students the way we taught them yesterday. Every day is a new day for the student, and every day must become a new day for the teacher too. And that's the kind of excitement which will make you an effective teacher. Well, for I think this I'll skip it off because I don't take, but anyway I'll explain to you clearly the 4 more. It's in fact a concept that I have developed over the last 15 years. I've been engaging student teachers and corporate people on this concept of SAC2. S for strength, A for attitude, C for communication, and C for confidence. 4 key components which every teacher must equip himself with. Using your audio visuals, a very, very important thing. I'm sure most of you have been doing it, because these days most of the schools and colleges are well equipped with audiovisual presentation kits. So make sure that you come up with active presentations, active kits, active slides. Probably you can play even a few videos, a few slides that will make them. So for each slide, you make sure that you use only 3 to 7 bullet points, and don't overcrowd your slides. Okay, new or different visual aids. Wake up people up. 1 second, please. Yes. So yeah, tips for a killer opener of your class. Wish them energetically, begin with a question, connect to the real or cooked up, or connect with the students with a story, begin with an activity, introduce the topic. Remember, very, very important, because they say first impression is the best impression, as we all of us know. There's a pretty old quote, right? First impression. How are you going to create that first impression on your students at the beginning of your class? Tips for a killer opener. Let your openings of the class, 50 minutes of class, let this first 5 minutes be a killer opener. Probably you can wish them energetically. Your energy matters the most. Ask them a lot of questions. Try to draw a definition for the question from them, and probably cook up, or probably you can even engage them with a real story that really connects to the concept that you are discussing on that day. Begin with an activity, maybe a small, maybe 1 or 2 minutes of activity to energize them both physically and mentally, and then probably use catchy words, quotes, recap techniques, chocolate techniques. Probably chocolate techniques, I mean to say, whoever answered this question, I would give them a small chocolate, or whoever answered this question will get a beautiful gift from me. Kind of techniques where you try to draw the attention, or rather you're trying to tickle the excitement and the learning abilities of students. Crack a joke, give a task to the toughest student in the class, share personal experiences. It's a beautiful thing. I'm sure on the left side picture you do understand. This is the great legendary actress, okay, Mrs. Sridevi Boni Kapoor, the lady who ruled Indian cinema for years. Okay, and this picture is from English for English. I think I'm sure all of you might have watched this movie, where her self-confidence has been lowered by her husband, but the way she fights back. So remember, this picture I have put it intentionally, precisely because remember, do not ever what we call comment your student's character or comment your student behaviors. Compliment people. Compliment your student when they do good things. Correct them when they do bad things too. But at the same time, when they do some good thing, good work, keep it up. Kind of a small thing. It's okay. Don't worry. You will do it. If someone has failed, it's okay. It's okay. This is the first time. Don't worry. Second, you'll be able to make it. So compliment rather than shouting at your student. You idiot. You have failed it. You have made this day bad. Don't ever use negative words. Use positive words. Compliment. That will make them really energetic, and that will also make them respect you much more. That will make your students respect you because you compliment them, you correct them, you are like a guide. So magnify their strengths, identify the strengths of each students, and help them discover and grow. And do not ever talk about the weaknesses of students, which will put them into a negative character. So to encapsulate, I'm coming to the closure of my presentation. To encapsulate or to summarize the entire presentation, let me tell you, a mediocre teacher tells, a good teacher explains, a superior teacher demonstrates, and a great teacher inspires. What category do you belong to? Are you a mediocre teacher, a good teacher, a superior teacher, or a great teacher? And I'm sure all of us fall into some kind of a category here as I displayed. But one day, if we all put our efforts, if we all put our dedication, one day we will certainly become, or we will certainly reach that last category of being great teachers. Teachers that inspire, teachers that will have an impact on the lives of their students. My dear friends, so this brings us to the end of the session on classroom management. Classroom management, we have discussed so many theories. We have also talked about the kind of issues that we come across. We have also discussed some of the mistakes that teachers commit. And I have also shared a few inspiring thoughts with you about how effectively we can engage our classrooms. Okay, I hope you have got me right. And I'm Dr. Rajkumar Pachikala. I'm a motivator, soft skills trainer, life coach, and a psychologist. I've been into this field for the last 20 years. Thanks for the IOTS invitation, and it's time for you to ask me any questions. Just 5 more minutes to, if you have any questions, you can ask me, or rather we can discuss. I would say, I wouldn't ask me. Yeah. Any questions, please?
You can also post the questions in the chat box.
Yes, please. Come on. Yes, Venkat Raman. Okay, thank you so much.
Please post your questions in the chat box, sir.
Yes,
Sir
how do
Venkat.
you manage a class size of more than 60 students? Yes, wonderful question. I think this question has been raised by Professor Jha. Yes, Mr. Jha, in fact, remember, as per university, as per AICT also, an ideal class must not have more than 45 to 50 students. But unfortunately, we put them probably 60. I have even seen classrooms which are more than 70, 75, 80 also I have seen. What I would say is in such kind of situations, I would probably, we can probably engage them by dividing into smaller sections. Okay, 60 students we understand, but holding their attention throughout the class, throughout the 50 minutes of session would be of course difficult, but that's where the effectiveness of a teacher comes in. Okay, first of all, as you enter in, probably there might be a bit of noise in the classroom. You just ask, calm. I mean, just wait until until they become calm, and then probably you can wish them it strongly and tell them this is a class. Make them also understand. Make them also understand this is a huge class, and I am just one teacher to present. If you keep making noise, I will not be able to deliver best. So if you want me to become to teach you the best way, I want all of you to stay calm and engage yourself positively. That's how we can engage them, or probably we can invite them. That's the only thing. There is nothing like shouting at them, or probably, I mean, that's my approach. Shouting at them, or probably, or reporting about them to someone else might not engage you perfectly. So the best way is to to make the students understand the kind of situation that we are in, and invite them to participate actively. What special qualities should a teacher have? Yes, Mr. Ajit Raja. Yes, I've already shared a lot of qualities, good qualities a teacher should have. I've given you around a dozen qualities I've listed out. You should be an inspirer, a person who can inspire with a positive personality. Should be able to engage. Should be able to address the student. Should be able to develop a positive personality. And above all, a teacher should also follow those 4 P's. Okay, preparation, and yeah, planning, preparation, presenting, all those qualities. So that's nothing like, I think in the presentation I've made it clear what are the kind of things that you need to have in order to become an effective teacher. Thank you. What is the current and the contemporary method during online? Yes, that's true. Today we are in a world where we are engaging most of our teaching classes, or rather classes are engaged virtually. And in such cases, we often find students becoming disinterested. They might probably, for the fear of your teacher, for the fear of HOD, they might log into the session and they might throw the system out there and they might even go off. They don't even show much of an interest to understand the classes. So in such kind of situations, what can be done is, the most effective thing is to engage them into smaller assignments. Assignment is the best way to test to what extent a student has learned virtually when we are delivering our classes virtually. So every day a teacher can use one assignment in order to test whatever he has taught is understood properly by his students or not. That's the best way. Except that I think there is no way we can physically or rather virtually see them all that they are entertained, or probably I've been doing one thing. What I've been doing is every week I call them. I find out all the absentees for the virtual classes. I call them up. I also ask my assistant to call the students and then ask them and talk to their parents also, understand what are the reasons for not continuously being absent for the classes. It happens. These are some of the modern problems we face when we go for online classes. Yes, yes. So would you share this PPT for the group? I think that's left to the IoT's choice. Let IoT decide if they would do that or not. Yes, I think, yeah, I'm done with it. If you have any more questions, because I don't find any more questions over here. Yes, there are state-funded institutions and teachers. There is no one method. Yes, yes. We understand, sir. Venkataraman sir, yes, we understand, because each institution, there are government-run institutions, there are institutions that are funded by state government, some private institutions. Each institute has its own, and unfortunately, there is a talk in the public there is an opinion in the public that government institutions are not qualitative. I think that is a wrong connotation. I do not accept it, because we all are the people who got educated in the government institutions, and our quality of teaching, all these scientists, all those great scientists, great people who have today, whom we take as role models, are all people who got educated in the government schools and colleges. So that probably is a challenge to all the government teachers also. Take it up more enthusiastically, build their competencies, move forward. And it's time parents also, more positively looked at the government institutions, and probably discourage their students to engage into private institutions also. I don't say private institutions, we should be able to, quality of course speaks a lot. Yes, any more questions? Yeah, the session was really intriguing, so my heart taken. Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Jha. I'm honored and really humbled by your compliments. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
We are receiving positive feedback, sir.
Thank you so much.
I think we have covered questions.
Yes. Yes.
Can we wind up the session, sir?
Yes. Thank you.
Dr.
Yeah.
One
sec, madam. I would like to thank all the participants, all my dear colleagues, all my fraternity, and wonderful professors. Thanks a lot for being a great audience, great participants. In fact, due to time constraints, I couldn't engage more effectively. Probably if I could have more time, I could have engaged. Probably we'll keep engaging it in the future tense also. Thanks a lot. Wish you all the best of luck. Let's continue to support each other, and let's continue to learn from each other. Thanks a lot. It's over to IoT Academy.
I thank Dr. Rajkumar for giving such a wonderful and inspiring session on this topic. I also thank him for sharing valuable knowledge and taking time from your busy schedule, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I thank all the participants for joining us today. Kindly fill in the details of the feedback form posted in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.